This content is being brought to you by the Bourbon Real Talk American Whiskey Aroma Kit. This is a tool that I put together to help all you whiskey aficionados out there develop your palates. You can sit down with the vials and train your senses, or you can sit down with a great dram and break that whiskey down to its components. If you have any interest of purchasing a kit of your own, head on over to bourbonrealtalk.com/shop and pick one up. Thank you for listening. Hello everyone out there in Bourbon Real Talk land. Randy Sullivan coming to you today from Northern Kentucky, from what is arguably one of the top liquor stores in our country for whiskey lovers. You feel like that's fair to say?
Definitely fair to say.
Definitely fair to say. Of course he would think that. This is Eric, and you're the general manager for Cork N Bottle, right?
Yeah, general manager, single barrel buyer.
Single barrel buyer. So he manages their barrel program, which is legendary, originally built up by Ed Bley, and you are his successor and doing even more great things with the store from what I've heard. So very excited to hear about your experiences. So let's jump right into it. First off, we normally start off with a whiskey review, but Brad Bonds was here and he gave us a little bit of his Dusty whiskey from the mid-'60s. And so we're going to finish respecting this bad boy before we switch on, but we've got one of your picks here that we're going to do a review of part of the way through the interview. So a little bit of a switcheroo on the show format. And so we'll start off. So how did you get into whiskey? Like what is your path down that rabbit hole of becoming a whiskey lover?
Just started, being 20, 21 and, even younger, but drinking some Jack Daniels and moving on to makers and building up into Eagle Rare, and it just progresses, and then you get to higher proof. But it all started back in the day when I lived with a bunch of my buddies, and they worked at Deps, and they're like, "Oh, come work part time for fun." I was like, "All right," and I started working there, and then one thing led to another, and had got full-time position. And
about what year was this?
This was 2002.
Okay. So that was the perfect time to become interested in whiskey, because at that time it was just like, hey, do you want this Pappy Van Winkle? Do you want this George C. Stagg or whatever?
Yeah, when I was 21, my dad, he told me, hey, I really like this Van Winkle. They make a 12-year, but I like the 13-year, and it's a rye. He's like, can you get me some? I was like, wait, how much do you want? He's like, I'll take a case. So 12 bottles, even though a case is 3, but
right.
So,
but in his mind, a case was 12.
Yeah. So got it for him $23.95 a bottle, and it was probably in April or something, or any time of the year you could do that.
Oh my God! And just keep in mind, like, you can't buy that bottle now. And if you did, you'd have to get it on the black market, and it's like $1,400 or something.
When the last year he bought some was 2012, because it got over $60, and my dad was like,
"Oh, that's not worth it."
He's like, I can buy Russell Reserve 6-year rye,
right,
and save $30. I was like, okay, Dad.
So I have a friend that has a similar story, in that he was really into wine. And he became the wine buyer for a pretty large store in Dallas. And he had an apartment. He lived with other guys that also worked at the store. And they also got discounts. So they're buying, Pappy Van Winkle for like half a retail price and stuff. And he's telling me these stories about like all these epic ragers that they would have, and like have random people coming over for a party and drinking whiskey that would be worth, tens of thousands of dollars now, like a swill. Was it kind of like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we at Deps, we had a great wine customer, but he also bought bourbon, and we had he bought one of the 23-year Van Winkle decanter sets, and we were still sitting on 3 of them. So that back then, you cold call them up, like, hey, do you want to buy the rest of these? He's like, yeah, sure, I'll take them. He has 4, Van Winkle decanter sets.
Yeah.
So
and those are like $10,000 now or something.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Insane. That's so awesome. So you've been in the business for roughly 18 years.
Yeah.
Right? And so you've definitely seen some stuff. How did you switch from being a floor person all the way to becoming the general manager of such a prestigious store?
Well, it all starts with, being able to maneuver and understand how it works. So I store managed our tobacco shop for a while, and ran that store, and that store made so much money because the taxes in Ohio are higher than Kentucky. That store built up and made a lot of money. Then I went around, helped do the NA buying as well for all 5 of our stores, and then went on to warehouse managing, and then fed into store managing, and also barrel picking. Depps spread the barrel picking around to a lot of people, but I around 2013, 2014, I took a whole, I went with the customers a lot more moving forward. So
were you friends with Ed or somebody from CNB like in the community, or how did you even find out that there was an opportunity here? Did they approach you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where Ed's he's an approachable guy, and he mentioned, we should get together, have some drinks. I was like, yeah, sure. So I brought some bottles over here to Cork N Bottle when I was still at Depps, and had some drinks, had a good time, and then he reached out to me and said, hey, we might have an opportunity.
Really?
I'm like, all right.
Nice.
Okay. And then he told me, and I was like, yeah, I'm in on that.
Huh.
Because Depps, it's great, but it's a family business. I'm not family.
Right.
So it's just
there's only so far you can go.
Yeah, like Ed, you have to make moves that's best for you, and thankful to him that he took care of me.
So, and I'm kind of noticing, based on where Ed's gone, because he worked here and now he's starting his own distillery. You had Brad that worked here, and now he's starting his own Dusty liquor store. And it seems like the management here is about helping people get to whatever that next level is, and that's admirable. And I hope that consumers recognize that as value and show a little bit of extra love to Cork N Bottle for that.
Yeah, no, they do. So it's difficult. The game and the liquor store game is really tight. The margins are tough in Kentucky. You have to have multiple locations. So, hopefully, we'll have a couple more locations in the future as well, like one later this year and one the following year.
Gotcha. Yeah. So there's some opportunity for everybody there. So you've been in the liquor business for a very long time. As a retailer, and for those of you that are listening or watching at home, you've got the 3-tier system. Or you're 3 or 4-tier here?
3.
You're 3-tier, okay. So you've got the producer who sells to the wholesaler / distributor, and then you've got the retailer. And in some states, the retailers have to sell the alcohol to bars and restaurants. In a 3-tier state, the wholesaler can sell directly to the bar or restaurant. So this is a 3-tier state, right?
Yeah, the distributor sells to the bar.
Right.
We don't. Yeah, we don't. Yeah. It's technically illegal.
It's different here in Texas. It's the opposite. They can only buy from a retailer. So, having had all of that experience, what's something that the consuming public doesn't know about the liquor store business that you think that they should know, or you wish that they did know?
Allocations.
Okay.
Blanton's.
Right. Blanton's in particular.
Which is funny that that we have that bottle, but yeah, it's the bane of any retailer's existence. At our CVG location, I have a Blanton's ticker, like a baseball. Coach has about pinch counting. So I'm, tick tick. By the time it's noon, we were up to about 22. Do you have Blanton's? And then when you get around 2 o'clock, you're up near 40. So it's the bane of our existence. But it's one of those bottles that it looks good. It's sexy. It's great marketing.
So basically, you wish that the consuming public knew that you can't just walk in and get an allocated bottle any day or time of the week.
Yeah, and we switched the point of sale system to Square, so now we have a loyalty program that we can track what people buy, and I wish I could have all the allocated bottles. So somebody comes in, like here,
right?
Like little old lady one year. My son has been so nice. I wanted to see if I can get him a Van Winkle. I was like, I so wanted to be like, here you go.
Here you go.
But then she would have unzipped into like 6'8" guy, like I got him.
Right.
So I was like, I want to, but at the same time, you're like, you got to put in the work at the stores. You have to build relationships, and a lot of the times, I'm going to try to help charities out too.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Whiskey's getting to the point, bourbon, is getting to the point where it's driving people mad. Mm-hmm. And, my thing is, I don't want the fear of missing out to happen so much. I want people, when we had our Willet pick, the Willet clan come out, I was just telling people, I was like, listen, there will be other barrel picks. There'll be other things going on. Just if you miss out, there'll be something
else. Right. Yeah. Well, and that's a great thing about a store like yours, because you do a lot of barrel picks. About how many barrel picks do you do per year?
Including some private picks, around 50.
Somewhere around 50.
Mm-hmm.
And so that gives people an opportunity to get a unique bottle that's actually even more limited production than the highly sought after allocated bottles, right?
Yes.
Because, typically you're going to be, 120 to 220 bottles per barrel, usually somewhere in the middle, 160, 180. That's a whole lot less of a unique spirit than something that's even an annual release that might be 9 or 10,000 or 30,000 bottles per year.
Exactly.
And it gives them the chance to try something new and a reason to come back to your store because you're providing that experience. So that's pretty awesome.
I mean, we let people try before they buy. We're not we're not going to open that.
Right.
I mean, typically, our Weller Full Proof was like, yeah, you're going to want this.
Right.
You're going to want this.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if it's something that if it's a $100 bottle or $80 bottle, people are on the fence. I don't want people to have a product and go like, oh man, now I got to go get a 12-pack of ginger ale. Thanks, Eric.
Right. So let them try first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're getting better about that in Texas, but it's still difficult. There's certain rules you have to follow to even be able to give somebody a sample in the store. But one of our retail partners that we're actually here picking barrels with, they have cracked the code and figured out the system to be able to do it in a legal way. So I love it when a store lets you try before you buy.
Yeah, I mean, we can, with Square, our system, we can charge, 0.1 of an ounce or 0.2, so it's and at cost. So literally, it's so minute of an amount that.
So you're actually allowed to charge them for the tasting.
Yes.
In Texas, they have to give it away. But there's all of these rules, so very interesting. And so with that, if you're doing 50 picks a year, how do you decide who is going to be part of your picking team? Because some places they let you bring 6, some 8, whatever.
A lot of times, we have some great customers at Cork, and I have some good friends that love Four Roses that are great customers. So I'll designate a couple of spots to those guys, and then I'll donate a couple of spots to a charity.
Okay.
And that's a huge way.
Did they buy in then?
Yeah. So like last night I was at my alma mater, Walnut Hills, my high school, and we raffled off 2 spots for a new riff pick. It fetched like $400 or $500.
Right.
So that's a way you can give to a charity and a good cause. High school to help scholarships for students. So. And then, I did the same. I do the same thing with Dragonfly and a lot of organized whiskey and Wishes. So that's my buddy Billy Volk. He started that up. I'll be working with him a lot on getting barrel picks and raffling off spots, and it's great.
So when we do picks, we try to involve as many people as possible because there's a lot of whiskey nerds that they want to have that experience, but I've accidentally gotten too many people before. And there wasn't enough whiskey for everybody to taste as much as they needed. 1 and 2, I started getting results when we started polling the people that were very different from what my palate said would be a good pick. So how do you protect against that? Or do you just maintain veto power?
I'm used. When I was with Deps, I was kind of used to. All right, well, we'll all vote on this. And Ed was like, no, you can't do that. So I try to steer. People in the correct direction. This is, get everybody's kind of vote. Like, how do you feel? And then well, this is where I'm at. And kind of break down why I feel that way.
Yeah. I guess if you're going on the pick, except for the people who bought their slot, you probably know your customers' palates and that type of thing. Give a little bit more weight to some people's opinion than another. I guess that would make sense, but that always is one of the things that makes me nervous about picks.
Well, same thing with Old Forester. I went to Old Forester, and when I was picking Old Forester in 2017, it was kind of young, and I didn't really care for it. And we were And when I was with Depps, we were getting 4 Eagle Rare a year. I was like, I'll buy that. So when I went to Old Forester with Cork N Bottle, I brought, you know, Tiernan, who works here, who loves Old Forester, and my buddy Trevin, who loves it, and my other buddy Max. I mean, people who love the product, and like, all right, well, I'm going to trust you.
Right.
You know, rather than...
So you always have some voices there that you know were experienced with
Correct.
that spirit. That
Yes,
makes sense.
you have to.
That totally makes sense. So being in this industry for so long, have you noticed any shifts in people's taste and what they're seeking after?
You know, my own personal taste is kind of based off of my lifestyle. You know, when I was younger in the whiskey game, I was more, and I have 3 kids, 8, 7, and 5. So
go ahead and kill that, and I'll give you a rinse.
So you know, in the 2012, 2013, I was kind of gravitating towards the Eagle Rares, just because, you know, I have little infants and babies, so I'm on the aspect of I'm on duty.
Right.
So I gravitated towards those, and I drank a lot of the Eagle Rare picks, you know, but now that you know, my kids are, you know, older, I can come back and I can have, you know, more cask strength stuff at night rather than not.
So have you noticed that there's been more of a shift towards cask strengths?
Yeah, a huge shift. I mean, a lot of people are I mean, it's the bourbon journey, and you kind of go for the shelfers, and then you go into barrel picks that are kind of around that range you like, and then you get into the 100 so proof, and then you move up a little higher.
Yeah.
But some people, it's just not their thing. They can't do it.
Right. Yeah. That was certainly my journey. You know, I started off on ice, and then neat but chilled, and then not neat, and then higher proof, and now I drink jet fuel for fun. And I love it. You know,
Yeah.
It's like if you give me a blind sample pack, there's a good chance I'm gonna put them in proof order because I'm just so interested in the higher proof stuff. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the higher proofs, also I try to pick stuff that's not going to have that dry finish, and it's going to be more subtle rather
like
than
a sweeter,
big punch.
longer finish. Yeah.
Not that big punch.
So this is one that you picked. This is a Blanton's, correct?
Yep. Blanton's from 2018.
2018. And on the nose, I'm actually getting like a darker fruit, like a raisiny, like plum kind of a thing that's quite nice, and I think a little off profile for Blanton's. I mean, normally I only get vanilla.
Yeah. Well, for me with Blanton's, when you know, I've picked a few barrels, and whenever I've picked, it's always been like, you know, boring, that's it. And that was dead on with this one, where you're like, these 2 Blantons, I don't know if they throw ringers in there. You know, you just question things.
Know, right?
You're like, are they messing with me? Are they trying to throw, you know, junk barrels in there and then give me this, you know, nice one?
Right.
But you know, I've had Blanton's regular single barrels that are just terrible, like boring and just kind of like
one-dimensional, flat. Yeah. No, this got a lot of depth.
Yeah, and that's kind of the last few that I've picked have been like this, where it's like, oh, that's it.
Yeah. So actually on the palate, and I'm curious to see whether or not you agree with this tasting note. If you don't, I'm going to cut this whole segment out. But the other day, I created a whiskey aroma kit.
Yeah.
For a sensory kit, and you know, wooden box, got 36 vials in it, and I put peach in it. And I have tasted a couple of Blanton's, like straight from the barrels and golds, that got a little bit more depth of flavor, and you can taste the fruit a little bit more than when it's watered down to that 93. And I've started detecting on some of the better bottlings a little bit of peach in the mid palate. So I'm curious. Did you agree with my that I was getting a darker fruit, like a raisiny? Yes. Okay, but on the mid palate, I taste something that's a little bit like a peach tea.
Man, I had the burnt ends on the barbecue. So
I'm probably wrong, to be honest.
No, I love it.
We did just have barbecue before we recorded, so.
And I had one of those sensory kits, and I actually got Boston rounds, and I dip them, let them dry, cut them to size. I fit them in there and screw them shut, and that way, label maker, Apple, now you can have them sit for a while. But the apple part, I did that too. I've never apple. Come on. And then Eagle Rare Pick I had, I was like, that's apple.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
You know what I got apple on was Ed Bley's last Russell's pick.
Did you?
Yeah.
The Swan Song?
Swan Song. It's like a green apple. It's really interesting.
I have one of those open. I'm going to go back.
I should check
You're going to make me drink more than that.
Yeah. That's what I do. I encourage people to drink good whiskey.
Well, that's what I tell my wife. I'm like, I'm palate training. She's like, you're drinking whiskey with your friends.
Yeah, no. This is my job. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you get deep enough in the game, all your liquor's tax deductible, and every time you drink, it's work.
Yep.
And then you've got an excuse, and no one can complain about how regularly you're enjoying your hobby.
Not even the government.
Not even the government. And so, one of the things, because I crowdsourced some questions, and I was like, hey, what would you want to ask a major retailer? And one of the things that people were curious about was your rarer barrels. Because our barrel partners, they're asking, their reps are offering them barrels that we know the club is not just going to line up in the middle of the night to go buy. And they're like, well, if you keep working your way up the food chain, one day, we'll hook you up, we'll give you a better barrel. And so people were curious about a store like yours that does so many highly sought after picks. How do you get those? How do you maintain those? Have you lost some over the years?
Yeah. No, it's, Total Wine this past year sued Sazerac for allocations because they weren't following the code of allocations based off of sales. So that threw a loop into everything this year because now distributors are getting scared. So now they're going by the book. So
so it's based on sales?
Off of whatever they deem, like Sazerac technically, what they modeled off before, this may not hold true now, but it was always 75% of your sales of non-bourbon product under the Sazerac umbrella.
Okay, so if you're selling Fireball and Wheatley vodka,
Caravella, Tawaka,
then you're further up in the list for a Blanton's pick.
Correct, and then the other 25% is based off of your surveys. So your sales rep will come in and see how many, displays you have. Mm-hmm. So that's the other part it's based off of.
Right, so you have to be showing love to the brand, and then the brand will reward you.
Correct.
And how has that changed?
Well, I mean, now they're trying to follow it to a T, so now they're cutting picks, and everybody's at this. They're offering stores that would never possibly do a store pick just because they fall in that category. Okay. Now they're asking them, hey, you want to do a pick? Because they have to.
Right.
So that could cut out stores with,
that have a history of doing the picks. Have you guys lost picks from what you lost allocation from what you used to get in the past?
Yeah, last year we lost a Weller and a Buffalo Trace. So, and then this year we got moved to 100 proof Four Roses and out of cast strength.
Okay.
So, and then we lost another Weller barrel this year.
So as somebody who does a ton of picks, do you have any inkling as to why the brand cares what proof your barrel is bottled at? Because, the most classic example is Heaven Hill won't let you do an Elijah Craig at cash strength. And I asked Bernie Lovers about it, and he was like, everybody asked me the same question, and I don't know why they won't change it. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, it's our barrel. We're going to sell those bottles to our customers. Why does it matter to you whether or not you do the extra work to water it down before you put it in the bottle? It's like extra work for you.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on that?
My guess is they have a certain amount of recipes with Four Roses that they want to move through, and they have certain OBSVs that may not fit the flavor profile of a cast strength OBSV, so maybe the water will help it. That's the only thing I can guess. But I haven't asked Mandy about that. So, and that's one of my next, kind of questions. Like, all right, so, can I just make an OBSV cast strength?
Right, right. Like, why not? Right?
Yeah, because I just don't know. I don't know their thought process, but I know they're very particular about what OBSVs they do and 100 proofer or not. So they have a reason. I just don't know yet.
Yeah, I'm very distracted right now because someone's car alarm is going off. So often, whenever you're going on these picks, you're going with friends. You are obviously drinking whiskey, which loosens people up, and you're having a good time. Everyone's happy to be there. What's one of your top 1 or 2 most memorable experiences going on one of these picks?
Definitely 2014 with Jimmy Russell leading us on a pick when Eddie was out of the country. And so it was that transition where Jimmy, the year before, he was doing it, and then now he was transitioning out of that. And Jimmy, he is amazing. And especially when he's
hanging out with friends.
He's not on the clock.
Right.
I'm not even supposed to be doing this.
Right. He's loose. Right.
Yeah. So it was wonderful. And Jimmy's a heck of a guy. And the stories, we hung out, at Wild Turkey and, had a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, that is my favorite place to pick a barrel. It's like it's like hanging out with family. Like, oh, we'll try this. Oh, try that. I know things have, are tightening up a lot more at certain distilleries. So I hope, I don't say that and next time we go and it's not going to be so.
No, well, I mean, Bourbon Pursuit talks about how it can sometimes be more fun at Wild Turkey because you get to try more barrels than you would in another place.
Well, it's not that it's in the Rick House, and you go to some places like here's what you can pick from, and I'll taste one, and Eddie's like oh, you like that? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you like the funky barrels? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, well,
come with me.
Let's go try this. I'm like, okay, all right. So he kind of match what you like, and he can go where you want to go, which is amazing. Where you go to, you go to other distilleries. There's 3 barrels, and they're like, there it is.
Yeah, pick one.
You're just like,
yeah. I'll pick the best one, but.
Yeah, I mean, in the place that's more like Wild Turkey, but more, more modern, maybe not modern, but not like in a Rick House, is New Riff. I mean, they hand select these barrels that are just different and have nice characteristics. They're just not the normal run-of-the-mill barrel. And you can go there and, we've tasted through 5, and I'm like, hey, we narrowed it down to a couple, but man, can we just try this one? They'll pull it, and then we'll get one extra. I've only done that twice, and I've picked 18 barrels at New Riff. So
wow,
that says a lot when I can just go and go. Oh, well, only twice out of 18 times. Like, well, let's just throw this one in, and they are extremely accommodating, and New Riff is a blast too.
Yeah,
so awesome. Top 2 for sure.
That's awesome. So with all of these picks, there are people that are coming to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail or going up to New Riff to do a pick, and they want to come by your store and pick up, because you always have picks available that the only place in the world to get it is at your store. Now, we've started seeing an increase in our local clubs of people that are going on these trips offering to bring back bottles for their friends because their friend's not able to go on the trip. And we call that muling, right? So. Have you increased it, or have you seen an increase in the number of customers coming in that are doing muling buys where they're picking up large quantities of bottles and taking them back for their friends?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a friend, Yahil, he came through the airport and, he's hitting up his, cost plus ship people, and sure enough, he's, buying bottles and bottles, and, it's just great. It's fun.
What's the greatest number of bottles that you've sold to one customer?
An entire barrel, but,
Oh, okay. No, so 180, 200. We had one guy that came, I can't remember if he came to C&B, but he came to one of the big stores up here that does a lot of picks, and I think he ended up bringing back 180 something bottles. Yeah, it was a lot. And it was just various things, and but that makes it fun because then people get to try things and whatnot. That they weren't going to get to try because they weren't going to be able to go on that trip. So I think that's awesome.
I love it too. I mean, I love even, people will mule bottles for me just because I want to see what, the rest of the world, is tasting, what their palates are like,
Right.
A lot of some of the West Coast, California picks are just, more of that lighter and softer on the palate, not as, punch you in the face, but that's, they're evolving too.
That's
hopefully.
The beauty of whiskey, right?
Yeah, because I mean, it's fun. I mean, that's why tasting different people's palates, it's just great.
Right. No, that makes.
I mean, one surprised me. We had a Four Roses tasting, and a Benny's, which I was like, there's no way, a Benny's OBSV ended up being one of my top. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I never thought Benny's big store. Like,
right, like who even picks this? They probably just take whatever they send them. Right?
No, they come down. Manny said they come down and pick 18 barrels at a time, and they come down twice a year.
Wow.
So I was surprised. I was like, no way, it's gonna be terrible.
Right.
It was great.
It was
I was
really
like,
good.
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that goes to show, if you're buying barrel picks, you have to trust the store, that the store has a commitment to send the right people to get the best barrel. Have you ever gone on a pick and not liked any of the barrels that they presented and decided just not to buy a barrel?
That happens more with samples, I'd say, than going down. Because if we're making the commitment to go down, then obviously they're gonna put their best foot forward. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was with Depths one year, we had in 2016 we had OWA samples, and they were terrible. Had the rep come in and try them, they were terrible. And so then they resent us samples.
Gotcha.
So and there's times with other picks where it's near the end of the year and I can tell they're bringing me samples and I'm like,
these are the reject barrels.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'll wait till next year.
Right. Yeah.
So
as a club, we're so new to doing picks that we're fearful to say no. Like, right, because you can say no, and then they're like, all right, well, you're off the list,
Yeah, and there's other things like, getting into new programs where, like with MGP in Rossville, we went in and did a rye blend. It's great, but, obviously you want it to be cask strength.
Right.
But,
I fought with David Whitmer about that yesterday.
Yeah. So, we went in, we split the barrel of Rossville. It's great. It's fantastic. It's $50. It's not like you're buying an $80 bottle. So that's one of those things where like, all right, well, we're going to go in, start this relationship, do this, and then boom, hopefully down the line, it'll get, pay it forward, so to speak.
Right. Well, I think, they didn't say so, but I think next year they're going to let you do a cask strength. First year was a blend, and you were picking on profile. This year they'll do a single barrel, but still at 100 proof, and I'm hopeful that next year they're going to let you do cask strength. But they didn't specifically say that, but that's what I'm hoping for. But we'll be coming back regardless because the whiskey's good and the price is right. So
Backbone and Bone Snapper. That's why I'll pick those all day. They're MGP and they're cask strength, and
yeah, that's awesome. So having been in this business for such a long time. What's your top one or two negative customer stories that you have where somebody just came in and just was not right?
Well, yeah, how long's the podcast? No, you have people that have false hopes, and you have to try to guide the customer to be successful. And some of them say, hey, I've shop here all the time, and when I was with Depths, and they're like, I can't even get in any Van Winkle emails and anything, and I'm like, I look at the customer's buying history, and they bought a half gallon of Jim Beam and a half gallon of Makers and like a fifth of Woodford. And I'm like, I don't say anything. Well, you might want to email this person; they can help you, and you just guide them. But they're just kind of irate, and when we do tasting, when they did tastings via email and you can't get in, I've never seen so many people, grown men, like just throw a fit.
So like you would send an email out and say, we're doing a tasting and we got space for this number of people.
Sign up.
And then you were full, and so you're like, well, you can't get in, and then people are just losing their minds?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always wonder about that. But Whiskey Club people can be sensitive, man. And so I can't imagine at the store level what that's like, dealing with that entitled customer that thinks that they know everything.
Well, the customer, they pay our paychecks, so you have to be very sensitive about that and understand that, that moment of rage will go away, and then they'll, all you have to do is say the right things.
Right. Is it the kind of thing that, because being such a large, high-profile store, do you get tons of out-of-towners that come in and, like, they're slinking around and they're trying to ask the right questions to see if you'll get a, Pappy Van Winkle on the back for them? Do you get a lot of that?
Yeah, on occasion.
Yeah.
a guy would come in and buy 3 cases of an MB Roland Kentucky Azul single barrel that we selected, and he's like, well, if I come back in and buy 2 more cases, do you have an Elijah Craig 18? I'm like, man, I don't have any Elijah Craig 18. It comes out, a couple times a year and it hasn't come out yet.
Right.
He's like, all right. And then he didn't come back in, but the next day we got Elijah Craig 18. I was like, he knew. He knew.
He probably knew the rep or something.
I was like, what?
What was going on? So do you have inventory that shows up like that you just had no idea that it was coming?
Well, the rep just has to bill it out as fast as possible.
Right.
So boom, bill it out. And then she's like, oh, you'll be getting some stuff. And I'm like, okay. And then it just shows up. I'm like, all right. Then you have to deviate between raffle, tastings.
Right. So how are you going to use this limited edition bottle kind of a situation?
And try to please as many people as you can.
And so you have a loyalty program. Is that part of the way that you identify who's going to get to buy your harder to find bottles?
Yes.
And does that loyalty program also play into who gets the more sought after barrel picks?
I haven't.
So like a foolproof or something, do you?
I haven't done that yet with that, but it might have to come into play down the line if they keep cutting picks as much as they are. Right.
Yeah. No, I get that. And so you drink whiskey also personally, right? You're, and I'm sure you've got a lot of friends that you drink whiskey with. Not associated necessarily with a barrel pick, but I like to try to encourage those people out there that are not as involved in the hobby, maybe they're just whiskey curious, to understand that whiskey is a social thing and that it brings people together. And so I like to ask people that are on my podcast that are enthusiasts, what's one of your more memorable experiences that was created by you being involved in this hobby of drinking whiskey?
Even just joining a whiskey group, it's amazing how much you have in common, and even fundraising with whiskey groups are so much fun because you can get together, have some drinks, and it goes toward a good cause.
A good cause. It's a good way to justify this hobby.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I went down to Barrels for Hunger down in Louisville, and they raffled off, Bo Beckman from Buffalo Trace. They raffled off that E.H. Taylor for $75,000, and they raised $350 something thousand that night. It was.
That's
that
insane.
was because how much a retail shop gets. I don't want to say bombarded, but get bombarded with charity. Hey, donate this. It's really it's really important, extremely important for a retailer to go down and check out charity events like that. Because it wakes you up and says, "Oh, there's more that you can be doing."
Yeah, you can do more with what you've got. That's awesome. There's a lot of increases in capacity that are happening, and I think everyone understands that the current whiskey boom can't go on forever. So, do you have any ideas about when you think this thing is going to take a turn? And when it does, and we all know it's coming at some point, what's your plan as a store general manager?
That's a good question. I'd put it at a good. Well, I mean, when is Blanton's going to be regularly available? It's 6.5 years old, 7.
Yeah.
So we're looking
at. Might all be based on.
I mean, Buffalo Trace. That company kind of holds that. Because they have a lot of the products that people are.
They have most of the highly allocated items.
Tripping over themselves to get. So I would hope that in 7 to 10 years that we have a good amount of whiskey and people don't have to camp out for stuff, but it's also going to make it a lot more difficult as a retailer to say that well, we have this.
Right. Well,
this is special.
That's the interesting point. As a retailer, when things are in too high of demand, it creates a lot of problems for you. Because you're not just trying to sell Blanton's. You've got to sell random vodkas and new beers and wine and all kinds of things. and your staff are just there trying to earn their paycheck and keep their boss happy and all that stuff. They're not an expert on every single, spirit and alcohol product that's in the store. They might have an area of specialty, but it does create problems when you have like this super high emotional base of customers coming in asking for the same thing, but it also creates opportunity. And so, how would you manage things differently as a store if you did have Blanton's on the shelves? Would that future be better for you? Does that cause you a little bit of fear? Because you can, unfortunately, like it or not, people's desire to get something that's hard to find influences their other purchasing habits.
It reminds me of Fat Tire. When Fat Tire, I would travel to Wisconsin, of course get some New Glarus, but also get Fat Tire because that's the only place I can get it. Now it's available here. I mean, I don't really buy
it. Right.
Weird. Maybe I've graduated from that kind of beer, but
sure.
It's tough. I mean, we're just trying to educate our employees, and Tiernan is amazing with wine and Scotch and tequila and rum. I mean, and bourbon. He knows so much, and just trying to train our staff for, having multiple palates and,
right.
and knowing a lot of different products, and that's what it's about. And having the airport location is unreal. I mean, people come and they, into our store, and ask, well, what should I drink? I'm like, well, what do you like drinking?
Right.
And then you profile them onto what,
give them a new experience that is likely to be positive based on what they normally drink.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I did a series called Drink This, Not That, and it was a play on the book Eat This, Not That,
yep.
right? And people didn't get it, and they thought, I was like, Drink This, Not That, Maker's Mark. And people were like, are you trashing Maker's Mark? And I'm like, can you please just watch it before you get upset? Because I talk about how great Maker's Mark is, but if you like Maker's Mark, you might want to try some of these other things. If you want to expand your horizon, maybe try some other weeders. Maybe try some of their premium line that you maybe have not bought before. I wasn't saying don't drink Maker's Mark. I love Maker's Mark, right? Yeah. But yeah, so that as a store, I think that's one of the more valuable services that you can provide, especially if you have educated staff, is to be able to point people in new directions. And that might be our way out of the FOMO, right? Is that if people can realize that there's other really good whiskeys out there, and then be happy to drink those.
Yeah, I mean, John Function at our airport location, they're like, do you have any Blantons for sale? And he's like, no, we have much better whiskey than that. I'm just like, don't say that, John. But he's like, we have store picks, Here's a Bullet store pick. Here's a Maker's Private Select that we hand selected. It's way better than Blantons. And people are like, no, I want the one with the horse on it. They're like, oh.
The one with the horse
so I just want to order off Amazon small little horses that I can glue on top of every bottle.
Horse. Take your horse.
Yeah.
With your new bottle of.
Or maybe just get a little neck dangler for
neck dangler. That is hilarious.
It.
See, I've always thought of Pappy as the bane of the store's existence.
No.
But I guess Blanton's has become the new bane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and 100%. For me,
100%.
when I see people in the clubs freaking out, I'm just like, Blanton's is not that hard to find. You just go to the store, you show a little interest, you buy some products from them, you build that relationship, and then you're gonna get it. Or it's not that expensive on the secondary. Just go buy it if you want it, right? And save the time. I don't know, but
Kentucky's the wild, wild west. You can have we'll sell it for $70, and another store down the street will have it for $190. But if you buy the store pick, then you can get it for $90.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I mean,
we have a little bit of that in Dallas.
During the holidays, we had a few Blantons, and of course, I did gift baskets, and I was gift basketing Blantons with some other, bottles. So there's subtle ways you can do it, and around the holidays, there's a Blanton's, but then there's another one.
Good stuff. Yeah. So we actually had an interesting around Christmas. There was a store that was doing gift baskets. And someone reached out to y'all have the ABC, we're TABC, and said, is this a violation of inducement laws? Because we have inducement laws that prevent the wholesaler from putting that type of pressure on the retailer, and they're completely ignored. There's inducements every day.
Yes.
Just like you talked about, like you have to have a store display, you have to buy this much Wheatley vodka, you have to buy this much, Fireball, you have to buy this much Tuaca or whatever, and then you're going to be eligible for this Eagle Rare, whatever. We'll get you a case of Blanton's or whatever it is. That stuff happens all the time, even though it's technically illegal. And I was a little bit nervous because I actually kind of like the basket practice because I think it's good for the store, and I think it teaches consumers appropriate behavior. That if you want the store to bless you with a rare item, don't expect to just buy the rare item. You need to support the store's overall business objective to be profitable and buy the other stuff. And the TABC ruled that the inducement laws are to protect the retailer and not consumers, and consumers can shop where they want. Yes. And so they were able to continue to that practice.
In Kentucky, we have co-packing, so we can co-pack, items together. And thanks to Kroger, one of the few things, thanks to Kroger, that we can have bourbon clubs, because now when you go to a Kroger liquor store, you can get fuel points on your liquor. Oh, that's a bourbon club.
Yep, sure is.
So
yeah,
a little bonus for Kentucky.
Definitely. All right, so you guys are doing great things. What do you see as the future of Cork N Bottle? Is it multiple locations? Is it
we're
something else?
Currently have a bid on 2 permanent locations at CBG, so we'll know at the end of the March if we won the bid. So that's going to be huge, for Cork N Bottle. But if that doesn't work out, that doesn't happen, it's not the end of the road. There's other things that we're doing, even in Ohio as well, because we have a Corkopolis wine bar, and multiple locations hopefully happening soon with that as well. And there's other ways we can get into Ohio as well. And
so there's some expansion coming.
Correct.
So if you're out there and you're listening or watching this podcast, it's about to get easier for you to get into Cork N Bottle.
Yeah, and I'm working with New Riff and how to expand those picks with Ohio as well. Like, doing collaborations. I do a ton of collaborations with New Riff because, it's nice to give back and to share with, different bourbon bars, because, it's tough. It's tough to run a bar these days. It seems to be so many popping up in Cincinnati and in Kentucky. So I like to, I'll do a pick with Libby's or Rich's Proper, Midway Cafe, Alexander Brewing, just different places, and then to give them the limelight, put the logo on there,
right,
and sell it at the airport. So maybe people, when they take it home, they'll look at it and like, oh, Midway, I didn't go there. Next time I'll go to Midway. Right. It's just fun things you can do to help out the community and other businesses. Sure. As long as the whiskey's good.
Right. Well, and so for those of you listening or watching at home, a bar or a restaurant can do a single barrel selection, but it takes quite a long time for a bar or restaurant to go through 180 bottles, and I think New Riff's yields are probably, what are they, 220, 215, because they're a little bit younger, so they haven't had as much angel share loss. And so, that's a lot for a restaurant or a bar to take on, but having a single barrel selection in their bar can help kind of encourage customers to want to come back there and get that unique experience. And so what he just described is that he's providing the outlet for them to be able to do that, but not take on all of that inventory, because he has the customer base to sell that quickly. So they can buy what they want from that allocation, and he can liquidate the rest through his retail location and not put that business under stress. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
And so that's understanding, that 3-4 tier system and how that shakes out will help you see, why people's behaviors are what they are. I have people complain to our club, like, well, why don't you do better picks? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. Just like, if you'll just get us all lined up with all of the BTAC picks and all the Pappy Van Winkle picks, I'll do them. I promise. I'll go, I'll pick them, I'll market them. Oh, wait, you can't. You kind of got to, and so understanding that there's this food chain, and it's all, at the end of the day, every business has the objective of making money, and we got to help each other out, and so on and so forth. So I really appreciate that Cork N Bottle is trying to help, and we call those Class Bs, or on-premise. On-premise is probably what it's called here. And so I think that's awesome that you guys are trying to help them out and provide that secondary support.
Yeah, it's tough. I couldn't imagine, putting the time and effort and the hours, open until 2 or,
Well, I mean, heck, that's what Ed used to do.
Yeah.
Just deal with that world. So, all right. Well, that's awesome. So if people want to get involved with Cork N Bottle, do you guys have a Facebook page or a newsletter or anything like that?
Yeah, corkandbottle.com. You can sign up for emails there, as well as follow us on Facebook. You can message Cork N Bottle on Facebook, and I'm usually the one to respond. So
Nice.
yeah, got any questions? Let me know.
Awesome. And if you are headed up here, especially to the northern Kentucky area, so Boone County's up here, right?
Boone County,
New Riff, MGP,
Neely.
Who else? Neely. So if you're headed up to the northern area, it's not that far from Louisville. It's like an hour and a half or so. But if you are headed to Kentucky, I strongly recommend you run through and see some of these producers, and definitely make a stop into Cork N Bottle and check out their single barrel selections, because they have a wicked awesome selection.
Hey, you can check out the Beeline as well. They have the list of all the distilleries, and it's the Northern Kentucky Bourbon Trail, and different bourbon bars that you can visit.
Right. And they have different programs here than in other areas where you're able to sample a much larger variety of things and pay a very small amount of money to be able to do that. So keep that in mind. It would be worth your trip up here just to come up and sample a bunch of their single barrel selections, which you may not be able to do in the area that you're from. So if you want more information about Bourbon Real Talk, you can find that at bourbonrealtalk.com. You can look us up on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, /Bourbon Real Talk. And you can search for us on your podcast player. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. We need you to like, subscribe, and review. That will help the algorithm so that those systems will show new listeners our content who are searching for information. And if you woke up this morning and you were unsure whether or not anyone loved you, just know that I love you. And I'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk.